everybody. I wanted to make a quick video just to explain a little bit about what you can expect in the next few months. I will, of course, be available to answer any questions as you go, though. Here are the cell phone numbers for the people that you might need to utilize at some point within the exchange year. Nicole Painter is the regional coordinator, and she's based out of Bradford, Illinois, near Peoria. Of course, I'm Jamie Corcoran, your local exchange coordinator, and my cell phone number is 309-830-9594. You will have a program advisor. I don't know who the program advisor is in our area yet, but I will make sure to get that phone number to you. And then there is an EF office number, which is available 24/7 in the event of emergencies. And that's 1-800-447-4273. So I'm guessing you're probably getting really excited and wanting to know what date your student is going to be arriving. So really shortly, within the next week to 2 weeks, you should be receiving some date options to decide what date you'd like for your student to arrive. EF typically suggests it's best if it's just a few days before school begins. So, for example, Unit 5 is starting on August 15th for staff. And because Iris, our exchange student, is going to try for swim, I'm going to try for August 6th. But the week prior, following that would also be acceptable. As your IEC, I'm going to try my very best to be at the airport when your student arrives as well, unless I'm working camp or welcome days, which is the event that they have in New York, which I'm going to be trying to do as well, but still trying either myself or Mike, my husband, to be part of the welcome process at the airports. So while you're waiting for your student to come, there's a few things that you could be doing if you like or if you choose. Start communicating with your student now. Look at FaceTime, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp. Those are all great tools so that you can communicate with them freely. With the people that live in your house now, so your existing family unit, talk with them about what expectations are really in the home. Are there unwritten rules that you know about? And then write those down and convey them to your student. Try to be specific. So, for example, in regards to a curfew or time, say be home by 11 instead of be home at a reasonable time. Some topics you might want to discuss are house rules, curfew, chores, transportation. In regards to transportation, you have to remember that in Europe, most of these students have never had to ask for rides from their families before. They've been able to just hop on to a bus and make decisions at last minute. So if you'd like to know the night before if they're going to be needing a ride, make sure you convey that. Electronic usage, that came through with a current host family who said it seems like Europeans are using their phone a lot more than even American teenagers. So if you don't want electronics used at the table or you want electronics turned off at a certain time, make sure you communicate that now. Do you have rules for mealtime? Does everybody stay at the table until everybody's done? Do you want to have them eat one meal all together as a family each day, or do you do that once a week? How do you feel about time with friends? Are they free to hang out with friends anytime? Do you only want that on the weekends? And then, of course, are there any special rules for pets? I have a big German Shepherd, and there are a lot of rules that we have for him. So if you have any of those, make sure that you communicate those as well. Many Europeans don't have pets. Identify a bucket list of things that maybe you would like to share with your student while they're here. Are there certain things that we do at certain times of the year? And so it's nice to have those all written down so they know what to expect. And also, you kind of have a plan of things that you'd like to do to keep them engaged and those cultural things that they can't get back home. Identify things maybe that might need adjusting. So, for example, in my house, my children, when they were younger, all had a set seat in the car, and that had to change. And the rule for who was going to be riding in the front seat was suddenly different. So we had to take turns. So just think about that ahead of time and maybe prepare your children for that. Finally, describe any pet peeves that you have. uh, and identify those to your student ahead of time. Um, Especially if it's something you know that's going to bother you, if anybody will do it. So, for example, at my house, my husband can't stand a wet floor on the towel, a wet towel on the floor. And so we always communicate that ahead of time. For me, I don't like shoes in the house. I don't mind if they're on the main level, but I can't stand if somebody steps on the carpet with shoes. So tell them that ahead of time so that you don't have to have an awkward conversation later. Some other things you can do while you wait are to prepare the space for your student. For myself, I like to purchase for the student a new towel and a new pillowcase, something that's just for them and that's just been on their body, which I think helps with comfort. And then I also like to email the student's parent or go onto their social media and save a lot of pictures that have their friends or their family on them. I print them out and then I'll put them up in the room either in frames or on a clipboard of some kind so that they have that comfort level when they come to America and they feel like that room is already theirs. Another thing you can do is prepare an online or a paper calendar for everyone to reference. So, but birthdays, holidays, maybe if you know you're going to be out of town for something already, put that on a calendar so that everyone can reference it. Sometimes we have students that are um, nervous about asking, when would this be or when would this be because they don't want to appear rude. So it's nice to have that calendar. And also, things in writing are always best when we're working with non native speakers, even though their language is really, really strong. Sometimes, if it's not in their native language, it does impact memory. Uh, Calendars help my family to reduce questions. And so we just have up a weekly calendar. It's on like an old window frame, but I put it up each week so that they can kind of look ahead and know what's coming up. We always ask on Sunday if you're going to need rides anywhere. Does anybody want any special snacks? Because that seems to be our preparation day for the next week. And finally, you can make a welcome poster for your student at the airport. Everyone will have a welcome Iris poster, whatever your student's name is, so that they can identify you. And also, it just feels like, oh, they want me here. And there's always a picture with the family and the poster. So, ahead of time, you may want to speak about what I believe for at least my family is the biggest awkward conversation, which is money. So I tell the students ahead of time, hey, we're going to try to go to Florida over Christmas break. We're going to pay for the transportation because we're driving. But if you want any souvenirs or when we go out to eat in Florida, I'd like you to pay for that. So have that conversation. I also tell them that we don't go out to eat a lot because we have a big family, but I tell them when we do, I'm going to give you a price. So if it's the meal that I'm offering, like if I'm saying, I don't want to cook, we're all going out to eat, I'll say, you have $15 to spend, that's your budget. And that usually will help them identify something that they can get on the menu. Because dollars to euros or kroners or whatever, just they won't recognize what's an expensive meal, particularly at first. Um, and then I also talk about things like if it's an activity that we're going to do together, if I'm like, oh, we should go get pedicures, that would be really fun. And we want to do it for enjoyment, I'll say, I'll get my pedicure, you get your pedicure. But there are some times that I have forced family fun activities, like we're all going bowling and no one wants to do it. I'm paying because we're going to spend time together. And so in that instance, then I will pay. There are a few things that you can expect from me as your IEC while your student's in country. So I will give you a monthly text at minimum, and then I'm going to follow up. So I'll text you and say, hey, can we talk tonight? Follow up and say, how's everything going? Have you had any big challenges, anything you were proud of, etc. You can expect that there are mediated family meetings as needed. Or requested by you, or sometimes I like to do them just for practice. The biggest misunderstandings that I noticed this year were students struggling to handle boredom, particularly in January and February. How to deal with siblings because many of them didn't have younger siblings this year. freedom. So in Europe, students kind of just go and they're out for long periods of time, and so sometimes students struggled with having that control of a host parent again, and then money. In And also, finally, you can expect from me a second visit. It'll actually be by an additional EF staff member, and that'll happen within 60 days. These usually start about mid September. I'm always available to you, though. So while I'm only going to be contacting you monthly, if you need to talk to me frequently, please let me know. I am a teacher, and so it's easiest to communicate with me after 4 p.m. So, as we've been talking about money, these are the things that host families pay for: 3 meals a day, the home utilities, reasonable transportation, and then household toiletries. So, you're not expecting them to pay for dish soap and those kinds of things. Students are expected to purchase their own personal toiletries. They're expected to pay for their phone plan, their own clothing, their own entertainment if they're going out with friends, unless it's forced family fun. Um, they pay for their own holiday gifts to give to other people. They pay for any additional food that they want, like if they have a bunch of snacks that they want and they want to keep them in the room, that's for them to purchase. They pay for their own school and sports fees. And then if they want to travel somewhere, that is on them as well. So the first day is so exciting, and it's also so overwhelming for both you, the host family, and the student. A couple things you're going to want to make sure to show them: where's the garbage? Where is the recycling? Are there rules for recycling? How to turn on the bathroom shower? They can never figure this out at my house. If the bathroom is shared, where do they put the things that are just for them? And what is like a communal? Is it anything they can use in the bathroom, or there are just some things that are for them as well? How to use a washer and dryer. At my house, I do have them do their own washing and drying. They've mostly never done this before. And I always think it's cute when they want to wash like 3 things. I'm like, oh no, you have to, that's going to wait. So just be aware that they've not done that before. Show them where the cups and plates are, what snacks they can have. Are there rules for snacks? Can they only have one a day? Do you not want them snacking before dinner? That kind of thing. Can they eat in their bedroom, or is food only in the kitchen? What's the Wi-Fi password? And then, are there any hazardous items in the home that they need to be aware of? So, in terms of school registration, the school registrar is the person at the high school that you're going to want to speak with. And they'll have a packet for Unit 5 and District 87. That packet is found online. You can start filling out the paperwork now, but registration is already open. But you don't need to do anything until mid-July, early August when your students arrive. You will, even if you have a student that's already living with you, that is your own child, and your child is registered in the school, you probably will still have to prove residency. So just be mindful that they might ask for 3 bills. Once that student is in the country, you can complete that registration, and you'll set up a counselor appointment to pick out their classes. The counselors are typically not going to be around until their first contract day, which is like August 15th. You're going to want to take with you to the school that proof of address, and also the student's passport and the student credit card to pay for their registration. If you need any information from the hub or any student paperwork, here's how you can find that. The student application has their EFID, which they know there's access to the student health certificate. The student's passport is also online, their immunization and vaccination records, and then their high school enrollment form. All of that's found online under the hub, under paperwork. I will send all of this to the high school also probably at the beginning of July, but just so that you know where it's found in case you need it. Nicole and I try to do some fun activities for the students to get them together. And here are the things that we currently have planned, tentatively. So in August, we will have an overnight camping event. We're going to call that their orientation, and that will be at Lake Bloomington. In September, we have a family event where we say, hey, we're all going to go hiking at Starved Rock. It's going to be on this Saturday. Bring anybody you want. All we're going to do is hike, and we're going to be there. There will be no real event, but it'll be nice for you to speak with other host parents. If you are unable to attend and you would like one of us to take your student, we're happy to do that as well. In October, I'll plan a Chicago overnight trip, which you can see a picture of there. And that'll be one night. We'll take the train up. It will cost the student less than $200. In November, Nicole takes the students to the Mall of America in Minnesota. That's a 2-night overnight. They'll miss school on Friday, and then they'll come home on Sunday. In December, I'll have a holiday party at my house. It'll just be kind of a quick get together. For those of you that live outside of Bloomington Normal, if you need rides, I'm happy to help you with that as best I can. Or if there are other students that live in your town and you want to coordinate that, that's super helpful too. In February, we're going to do a trampoline park lock-in. That's a tentative plan as well. And in May, we'll have a farewell party for them. It's likely to be at my house, and we'll just get together and do a craft and hang out and eat. There are discovery tours, which are available to the students. Those will open up in December. These are fantastic. I went on my first one last year. Totally recommend it. They are pricey. They're about $3,000 for the student, but it's worth it if their family has it. One of the best parts about being part of an American high school is participating in sports. And so there is IHSA paperwork that you will get from your athletic director. Once the coach for the sport that your student wants to participate in will have that and get that to you. When filling that out, there's going to be a part that says, has your student graduated? And you're just going to want to mark that they have not graduated. That's particularly important for students in Switzerland because they graduate so early. Your student is coming with insurance. They have Erica Travel Insurance, which is part of the Aetna plan. And you just tell the doctor when you see them that you have an Aetna PPO. On the hub, you can find that information for them, and they will also be coming with a card that has that. In McLean County, if they need to see a doctor that's like in a plan or in network, the CVS Minute Clinic is the easiest I have found. And the phone number for that, if you need help, is 1-800-783-7447, which is on their card as well. If there's an emergency, a student can go to an emergency room. Just know that they'll have to pay a $50 deductible higher than, I think it ends up being $100 total. There are some things that are not included in insurance. So student immunizations is one of them. We're really particular about them getting those ahead of time. I just sent them a video that has all the things they need, but it always seems like 1 or 2 kids end up not having one of them. And so they'll have to pay for that out of pocket. I'm happy to take them to a CVS to get that if you would like. There's no dental care that's covered. So usually students go the whole year without any dental care. Sports physicals are not covered. And sadly, the schools do not count what we have on file from their home country. So they will need to get one of those. I suggest that OSF Ergo here in town, I want to say like $39. There's no dermatology or anything included for insurance as well. For billing purposes, though this can be changed at any time if you do something different, but you can put the student's natural parents listed as the person in charge of paying for the bill. Host family details don't need to be listed, but if they are, you're not responsible for that if that should happen. If hospital asks for billing address, and you can either put your home address and then get me the bill, and I can send it to EF, or you can just use the EF Boston office. Phone procedures. Students are going to bring their own phone, but it obviously their phone plans from back home are not going to work. So um, we don't recommend that a student joins a a plan. Sometimes it just makes things complicated. So the easiest plans that I have found are AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. It all depends on if their phone is compatible. I always start with AT&T because I think they're the easiest, even though I use Verizon myself. Um, Also, previous families have suggested discussing limits to phone usage really early on so it doesn't become a problem. It appears that students in Europe are using their phone a lot more than students in the United States. So, talk about that. Here is some advice from past host families. I just asked them for this. One family said their advice was to be upfront with communication about everything, treat them like family, not a subleaser. Also, don't let small problems become the big problems, which goes back to communication. And they felt like they now had a son or a brother for life because of this. Um, One family said it seems like EF does put a lot of pressure on students to come out of their shell from day one, just to remember that they're coming across the world, leaving their family and friends behind. And that's not always a realistic ask for all of the students. So they're teenagers and to be patient, which I think is really good advice. Um, and then another family who's repeat hosting again this year said they would definitely have rules early on for their next exchange student. They just weren't sure with their first one what kind of rules they would want to have, but a must moving forward. And she talked again about that nonstop phone usage. So definitely wanting to make sure to talk about some of those rules related to that. And then the unspoken rules became a challenge in the house. Like, oh, we just always do this, but not knowing like you don't always do that in your home. So talking about those as well. Um, I struggle myself with reading body language with students. And so, some advice that I have is to ask more questions because for my own personal feelings, like, hey, I see that you're being quiet. Like, is everything okay? Are you comfortable here? Are you happy? And I tell them, like, I need you to tell me what you like and you don't like because they don't want to be rude, but I need to know that they feel like my home is a home for them. So that's my advice as well. If a student says something like, I'm not feeling comfortable here, I'm feeling homesick, it's hard not to perceive that as I've not done a good enough job for you, but that's not the message they're trying to send. They're not trying to say, I don't like your family. So try to say something like, sorry you're uncomfortable. Like, what can I do to ease your stress? How can I make this easier for you? And just trying to remind them that they don't have to think about May or the end of the year. They can just start thinking about one day at a time. We talk a lot about the roller coaster of exchange. So you're going to be super happy usually right away. Everything seems super exciting. The kid is so happy. They want to get involved. They want to be participate in the family. And then they get cultural fatigue and they notice that there are a lot of differences and there are things that they miss from home. And they're going to notice that it's a lot to listen to English all of the time. And those differences, which they thought were going to be exciting, become challenges. Um, so they hit a low. And I feel like that's always October. October seems to be quite a struggling month for students. And then they seem to pick up and they adjust on the surface and everything feels really good. But then you see the hidden problems. And those hidden problems, I feel like, always show up in January and February because you're spending a lot of time together. You know, we kind of hibernate. It's cold here. They don't deal with the extreme cold typically in their home countries. So January and February are very difficult months, I feel like. So try to have some things that you want to do or just be mindful that that could happen with those hidden problems in those 2 months. And then I feel like March, everything's fitting in, it's working, you're totally performing as a family. And then we start talking about going home. Here are some conversation starters, which I thought just might be helpful. I noticed you're spending more time in your room. What's been keeping you from spending time with us? Or I noticed you looked upset earlier. Is there something or someone making you upset? What can we do to make you feel more at home? Would you like to watch a TV show together? And then for me, though I always give this advice and I know it sounds awkward, but if I have a girl that I feel like is kind of withdrawn, I always ask, like, oh, can I braid your hair? And what I like about that is they don't have to make eye contact with me. We're not at a table. But we are trapped in that moment, and that's helped me. Uh, I also find that this is just a car ride as well when it's just that student and I. So if you feel like that, you can say like, "Oh, let's go to McDonald's and get a Diet Coke." And then when you're in the car, you're able to talk about some of those things, and it's easier because they don't have to make eye contact. Beating boredom is real, especially in those really cold months. So at home, do the basic things: bake, watch a movie, play games. Puzzles are really great because it takes a lot of time and you can just do a little bit here, a little bit there. Cook a meal, go for a drive. If you want to do something that's away from home, those all American things like just going to Route 66 or seeing a American diner, that kind of thing. Going on a road trip, going out to eat. School events are big. Just say like, hey, I saw the school had a basketball game. Let's go together. Um, Going hiking, which there aren't that many places I know, but nature is really big in Europe. And so just getting them outside sometimes really will help as well. Go to a park, have a picnic. We have found that a bucket list can be super successful for us and just breaking it down month by month so that we have some things that they'd like to do. And I also have a bucket list of restaurants that they want to try, and it's usually like drive throughs. Uh, that bucket list can be super simple, like um, going shopping for pumpkins and then carving them and maybe having a pumpkin carving contest. Or I know a host family that did an egg decorating contest, which was fun. Or just potting flowers for Mother's Day. Just something simple. And then finally, I also want to remind you, which I forgot to tell some families this year, you can tell your tax preparer that you've hosted an exchange student, and they will give you $50 a month. To itemize. So it ends up being about $500 if you've hosted a student for the whole year. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm really excited about this year. I'm going to try to do some host mom events. That's on my list of things. So, but feel free to organize anything or tell me what you want, and I will work on that for you. I'm looking forward to a great year. Take care. Bye.